For the longest time, OnePlus has dominated the affordable flagship space by delivering powerful phones at a fraction of the cost, and up until now, there hasn't been anyone to really challenge them. Honor's latest smartphone is looking to step into the ring with OnePlus, but does it have what it takes to challenge the longtime champion? This is the Honor View 10 versus the OnePlus 5T. You don't have to look very far to see why these two phones draw a lot of comparisons. In terms of hardware, they're very similar. The Honor View 10 and OnePlus 5T both have metal bodies with smooth finishes, identically placed plastic antenna lines, dual cameras, and many will probably say they have a lot of resemblances to the iPhone. Even if they aren't the most unique designs, the Honor View 10 and OnePlus 5T are good looking phones and they're very well constructed. The only major difference in design is the OnePlus 5T has a curvier, more pebble-like shape that feels a little more comfortable and ergonomic. The sides also taper down to a thin edge, so the phone feels a lot thinner than it actually is. Button and port placement are also fairly similar. Power and volume keys are on the sides, and on the bottom are the single bottom firing speakers, USB Type-C ports, and they both have a headphone jack. With the OnePlus 5T, you of course get the notification slider, which has always sort of been a trademark of OnePlus devices, and it makes it really easy to switch between Android's different ring profiles. Another hardware difference that you'll find is the Honor View 10 has an IR blaster, which is a feature you don't really see anymore on smartphones, but it's there if you want to use your phone as a universal remote. As for fingerprint sensors, they both have very fast and accurate fingerprint sensors, but the Honor View 10's is on the front and doubles as a solid-state home button, whereas OnePlus made the switch to a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor in order to make way for a larger screen and smaller bezels. Personally, I like OnePlus's implementation better. It's more spacious, and I'm just a fan of rear-facing fingerprint sensors in general because of how much easier it is to unlock the phone when pulling it out of your pocket. Under the hood, the Honor View 10 and OnePlus 5T are packing some pretty top-tier specs. The Honor View 10 has Huawei's very powerful in-house chipset with the Kirin 970 and 6 gigs of RAM, and the OnePlus 5T has the more typical Snapdragon 835 processor with either 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM depending on storage. Performance-wise, they're both extremely fast phones. Whether you're just casually reading emails, browsing the web, checking social media, watching YouTube, or playing games, you'll have a pretty hard time slowing either one of these phones down. What makes the Kirin 970 and the View 10 special though, aside from being a very powerful processor, is its NPU, which gives faster image processing and recognition, better performance with AI apps, better battery life, and also helps with degradation of performance over time, but obviously we'll have to wait and see how well that actually holds up. Battery life, however, is an area where you'll notice an immediate impact from the NPU. Having a large 3750 mAh battery makes a significant difference as well, but the Honor View 10 has no problems lasting me a full day, with screen on time consistently hitting the 5 to 6 hour mark. The OnePlus 5T's 3300 mAh battery is no slouch either, as I'm able to get pretty much the same screen on time numbers with the same exact usage. No wireless charging on either phone, unfortunately, due to the metal designs, but I don't think it's that big of a deal since they're both really quick to charge, especially the OnePlus 5T with its dash charging technology, which is still one of the fastest and most efficient quick charging methods out there. On the front, they both have one of the most current smartphone trends with 18:9 screens that are surrounded by very thin bezels. The Honor View 10's display measures in at 5.99 inches, and the 5T is only marginally larger at 6.01 inches. They both, however, have the same screen resolution of 2160 by 1080. The big difference here is that the View 10 uses an IPS panel and the OnePlus 5T uses AMOLED, but the IPS panel on the View 10 is surprisingly good and keeps up very well with the 5T's display. It's vibrant, it's colorful, and the black levels are very good for an IPS screen. I still prefer the contrast and inky deep blacks of the 5T's display, but both of these screens look fantastic, and the fact that they're 1080p doesn't really bother me at all. The software experiences is really what differentiates these two phones the most. The Honor View 10 ships with Android 8.0 Oreo with EMUI 8.0 on top, which drastically changes the Android experience, and if you couldn't tell, it's pretty heavily inspired by iOS with the way it looks and some of the features that it has. Aesthetically, EMUI isn't my favorite skin, but it does have some pretty nice features like the swipe up for quick shortcuts on the lock screen, a built-in theme engine, and swipe gestures on the home button that can be used to navigate the software in place of the on-screen navigation keys. I think the biggest issue with the View 10 software is how much bloatware comes pre-installed. Most of it can be uninstalled, but it's a stark contrast to the OnePlus 5T software, which doesn't have any bloatware at all. OxygenOS is also a very stock-like Android experience, but it sort of takes it to the next level by giving you a ton of customization options. There's a bunch of different gesture controls, custom accent colors, a light or dark mode, and a whole lot more. It's so seamlessly integrated that it feels like a natural part of Android, and that's what I love most about it. If you're running the latest Oreo beta, you'll also get iPhone 10-like swipe gestures to navigate the OS instead of the on-screen soft keys. On the backside, you'll find dual cameras on both the Honor View 10 and the OnePlus 5T. The Honor View 10 has a 16 megapixel primary shooter and a secondary 20 megapixel monochrome sensor to help pull in more detail, both of which have a bright f1.8 aperture. The OnePlus 5T also has a 16 megapixel primary shooter and a secondary 20 megapixel camera with a slightly wider f1.7 aperture, but both lenses are RGB and the secondary sensor is designed to help improve low light performance. If you want a camera that offers a ton of features and modes, the Honor View 10 will be the way to go. My favorite and most useful feature of the View 10 is the wide aperture mode, which we've seen on previous Huawei and Honor phones, but it's an awesome feature and I love being able to adjust the bokeh effect on my photos after the fact. The OnePlus 5T's approach is much more simplistic. You won't find too many modes here outside of the typical beauty mode and a portrait mode for that added depth of field to your photos. In terms of picture quality, they're pretty similar when it comes to sharpness, detail, and overall dynamic range. Where you'll notice the biggest difference is in the color reproduction. The Honor View 10 typically produces warmer results and more natural looking colors, while the 5T tends to be cooler, but the colors are much more saturated. Now their camera is amazing in low light, but the Honor View 10's photos in low light are usually brighter, giving you more details, especially in the shadows. When it comes to deciding between these two phones, price and hardware isn't going to play a huge factor because they're both very competitively priced and the majority of the hardware is pretty similar. They both have sleek metal designs, 18:9 displays, dual cameras, and fantastic battery life. What it's really going to come down to is the software experiences, because that's what separates these two phones the most. As solid of a smartphone as the View 10 is, the OnePlus 5T would still be my pick as the winner in this comparison, simply because I love the clean and stock-like experience of OxygenOS and the high level of customization that comes with it. But what smartphone would you pick? Would you pick the Honor View 10 or the OnePlus 5T? Let us know down in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, we definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, which is also down below, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And as always, follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Google+, all that good stuff will be linked down below. And of course, check out the website for more in-depth coverage, AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.